Thanks for listening to the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, here to help educate, motivate, and put you on the right path to take control of your health through weekly discussions on topics in the medical field, public health arena, and in your community. And now your host, Dr. Barry.
Welcome everybody, I'm your host, Dr. Barry, your favorite board-certified internist, founder of drpierresblog.com, and of course the host of the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, your number one podcast for patient advocacy, helping you empower yourself for better health. This week we bring you episode 86, and it's aptly titled, Why All Doctors Need a Mental Break. And this was spurred off by me taking a mini vacation last week. And I want to kind of get into the reasons why I think everyone, especially from the physician standpoint, but more importantly, my professionals, my entrepreneurs, and business folks alike, all need to take some time out for themselves and sometimes just take a mental week off. Again, it doesn't have to be a week, but just take some time off mentally to kind of recharge and re-energize. Like always, if you want my show notes, head over to lunchlearnpod.com or head over specifically to this episode at drpieresblog.com/LLP086. And if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star review, as well as tell one friend. Again, you don't have to tell all of them. Just tell one friend to listen to such an amazing podcast, helping you get your health right and power yourself for better health, especially as we get ready for the end of 2018. So let's get ready for another amazing episode here on the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. So getting back to my regularly scheduled program was definitely something that I've been excited to do this week. And if you're on my listserv, I talked a little bit about, the why. You may not have heard it from me for about a little bit of a week or so. And it's interesting, right? Especially for those who follow me on social media, because of the amount of work I've done in the past. It doesn't necessarily feel like you haven't heard from me, because I have some programs that kind of automatically post a lot of my old blog posts, or my old live stream videos, or my old podcast episodes. So if you're just following me on social media, you may not even necessarily realize that I didn't have a new episode out, unless you happen to check your podcast player and see that, hey, Dr. Barry's still on episode 85. What's going on with that? All right. So I want to kind of talk about some of the reasons why I just said, we're just going to call it chill for a week, and why I think it's something that I think every physician, every entrepreneur, every parent, every person who's in a situation where you find yourself doing something that you love doing, but then sometimes it doesn't feel like it's a hobby or like a need, but more like a chore. That's when you almost have to say, let me pump the brakes on this thing, right? So reason number one, right, I was having a lot of stuff to do with my primary job, right? Those who've been following me know I am a program director as well as a director of medical education at my hospital. So, that comes with some responsibilities. And when it comes to dropping the podcast or doing a blog or doing a video, a lot of that tends to come later in the day, or if I'm lucky, don't tell nobody, if I'm lucky during the day when I'm at work. But most of the time it happens after work and after I've taken care of my kids. But I saw that I was having a little bit more to do on that front, right? This is my primary job. I like to call this my quote unquote side hustle. What I do with the blogging and the podcasting and everything else under the sun. So my side job, unfortunately, got pushed to the side just a little bit because of all of the scheduling issues I had to work on, especially for those who are aware. I'm actually working on a new webinar for second-year medical students, third-year medical students, really those who are getting ready to tackle the ERAS. And if you're a medical student, you know exactly what the ERAS is, right? And it is this service that is used to help send out your applications to potential hospitals and residency programs like mine's to try to get a job when you finish residency, right? Medical school. I think a lot of people don't realize that, you do your 4 years of medical school, and then you still got to apply to do your extra training at a different hospital, right? And it usually doesn't occur at the hospital that you train or the medical school that you train. So we're in ERAS season, so we're getting a lot of applications. I'm reading a lot of applications, and I'm seeing so much of the same trends. I say, you know what? Let me work on a PowerPoint that I think is going to help benefit not only those who may be in the process of applying now, but those who are going to be applying in the future as well, because I'm kind of seeing the same issues and mistakes all over again. So it was a lot of stress at work, a lot of work at work that kind of added to the fact that I had to take a week off. And number two, right, and this I think is more importantly, like I actually had a vacation because, of course, I got 3 kids. So I had spent some holiday time with the family that kind of interfered with a lot of my scheduling. So it was either a happy wife or me sleeping on the couch. And I didn't want to sleep on the couch, right? And my kids, we actually ended up going to Disney World to Not So Scary Halloween. And they had a great time. I had a great time. So that was another thing that kind of added on to it, right? And I think a lot of times when we're in our process of doing, we forget our main goal is kind of taking care of the loved ones around us, right? Especially your family. And of course, taking care of the family means also having fun with the family. You can't just kind of take care of them financially, paying the bills or whatnot, but you're never there. You never, get to see them smile or get to play games with them. So we wanted to make sure, and my wife definitely has no problem making sure that I turn off work when I need to turn off work, right? So that kind of added on to it, right? So number one, we talked about some extracurricular activity at work, some stressors at work that kind of added to it. Number two, we talked about family and some family time kind of adding to the crunch. Number three, and I kind of alluded to this in the beginning, was that I felt the pressure that releasing a podcast or in a blog and or a video. Now, again, I don't do all 3 every week. I could possibly, but I don't. But just kind of releasing some combination in that form was almost becoming more like a chore, right? Where like I felt like I was doing it just to do it, and I had to begrudgingly say, I got to do another podcast. I got to do another blog post. I got to do another live stream. And starting out again, I've been doing the social media stuff, whether it be blogging, podcasting, or videoing, for almost 6 years now, right? So I've been doing it for a while, and it's never felt like a chore, right? And I never wanted to feel like a chore, right? Because I know I'm the type, like if something feels like a chore, something feels like I have to work extremely hard to get stuff done, I'm not going to do it. So, but, it kind of accumulated with everything that was happening, especially in those first 2 reasons, that putting out something was going to be more of a chore than actually a labor of love, right? So I didn't want to do that. And most importantly, making sure I put a focus on my health, right? Like, again, I can't tell everybody to empower yourself for better health and, not do the same, right? So when it came to the time crunch of being able to kind of fit in one of these activities, I had to say, can I go work out or should I record a podcast? Should I go work out or should I, get ready and write my notes for this blog post? Like, should I work out? And if you've been following me on IG, I've been all gung-ho about working out, getting healthy, eating healthy, losing weight, because that's really the name of the game here with the Lunch and Learn community and just everything that, I stand for regarding, making sure you guys empower yourselves for better health, right? So making sure that my health was priority was pushing down my side hustles down a little bit further down the totem pole. And with the time crunch beginning to happen and with family time, we were a mini vacation, there was some stresses at work, I was saying, yeah, you know what? This is another reason, right? Like, again, I usually have to go through these steps, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a physician, when you're a businessman, when you're just a person who just is constantly doing work on a daily basis, a lot of times you have to continuously find reasons to do it, right? Because there's so many different distractions, so many different obstacles trying to get in that way of you doing your job, right? So a lot of times you have to say, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z for that reason, right? So that was another thing that kind of came up, adding to the fact that, you know what? I'm just not going to do any work this week, right? And for those who don't know, I think I talked a little bit about it on my Instagram. My process of what I think about through the week usually happens the week before, right? So usually the week before, I'm plotting, hey, do I want to do a podcast next week? Do I want to do a blog post next week? Do I want to do a live stream? So that's usually the week before that type of stuff happens, unless some like really interesting health thing happens and I say, I got to talk about it today. But usually for the most part, it's usually like a week-long process as far as the planning stage. So again, this is all happening the week before I decided to take my week off. And I felt, you know what, let me, again, another reason maybe I should just kind of hold off on doing, anything this week. And then last but not least, for those who listened to episode 85 with my teacher, Miss Wiggum, and, listen to her story. First of all, the feedback has been absolutely amazing, guys. Definitely, y'all really love that episode. So again, appreciate her for being able to share that story. And I had a chance to check out episode 85 of the podcast where Ms. Wiggum, my former teacher, talks about her diagnosis of breast cancer and what's that meant to her and what are some of the mental hoops that she's been kind of going through and excelling since being first diagnosed earlier this year, right? So again, check out episode 85. Leave a 5-star review, of course, because I'm always about that 5-star review. Leave a 5-star review, especially if you listen to it on Apple Podcasts, or maybe you go to my website and you listen to it. Like, leave a comment on the website page, just something so I know that you guys are listening to it, and let me know what you think about that episode, because she did an amazing job. And sometimes I feel like in the role of the content creator, right, which I am, right, the content creator, sometimes, you get in this pattern where you're just constantly doing it week after week after week, that a lot of times you kind of overshadow the good stuff, right? So I didn't necessarily want to drop a podcast so immediate after that one, right, because I wanted people to have time to listen to without feeling like, oh, wow, he's already dropped another one. I didn't even have a chance to listen to episode 85, which was another reason why I said, let me not do anything this week in regards to another podcast, because I want people to still go back and have to listen to episode 85, right? Like, I still want them to have to go listen to Miss Wiggum's story. I want them to have to go listen to what she first felt when she heard that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And sometimes that can't happen, and I'm guilty as it is. Like, for those who know me, I am a big podcast connoisseur, right? Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I listen to a lot of music, and I'm kind of a weirdo in the sense where when I'm in the setting of listening to good music, like, I don't listen to podcasts, right? So if I listen to an album or two, right? First of all, shout out to Ella May, who dropped a great album. If I'm listening to a podcast, if I'm listening to some music, I may be playing that music over and over again that I don't even get a chance to listen to my podcast episodes. So then what happens is I have 3 episodes, 4 episodes, 5 episodes, 6. I may have like up to 10 episodes that I have to back listen to. Like, these people are already dropping the week after, and I'm still having to listen to 2 weeks prior just because I didn't have time to do it. Right? Again, it's so funny. Even as I record this, I'm still behind on a few of my favorite shows episodes just because I was busy grooving to the music. Right? So I didn't want to have too much of one good thing, and I'm in a fortunate position, right? Especially early in my podcasting days, where I don't necessarily have to drop a podcast episode every week. I know there's some who, when you're dealing with sponsors, when you get paid to drop an episode every week, right? Like, you got a little bit of an obligation to drop an episode every week. Me personally, I don't, right? Like, I can drop one every month if I wanted to. I just like talking to y'all more often than once a month. So that's kind of where we get from that standpoint there. So I think from that standpoint, right? And again, I was looking back and I was thinking like, wow, all right, I'm really gonna take this full week off. First of all, let me tell you, I absolutely enjoyed the heck out of that week, right? Like, I enjoyed not having to worry about social media, worry about a social media post, posting on this site versus that. I enjoyed not having to do any of that. One, because I knew I had so much content out there that I could just keep reposting old stuff that you may not have gotten a chance to read or write or see, that I'd be okay, right? Like it wouldn't be as if I would go completely dark for a week. I just wasn't posting anything new for a week. And I could have time to kind of sit back and kind of observe and, kind of recalculate my bearings as I say. And I think that's something that, especially from a physician standpoint, where most of us, right? Again, I'll say the typical physician goes to undergrad for 4 years, then goes right from undergrad, goes to medical school for 4 years, and then right from medical school, they do another 3 to 7 years of training. So the typical medical professional, right, is in school for almost 11 years, right? That's the low ball, right? 11 years, sometimes up to 17, 18 years of straight school, straight learning, straight work before they get to breathe. And I think that's very apparent when we talk about the burnout of the physician, right? When we talk about the physician happiness, right? When we talk about physician satisfaction. These are people who've been going to school for so long, they don't even know what it's like not to go to school. Like I tell people all the time, like my 20s were gone, right? I don't know what I did in my 20s, right? You know how I define my 20s? When on my 25th birthday, I had to study for organic chemistry. On my 21st birthday, I was studying for organic chemistry. My 25th birthday, I was studying for like anatomy and physiology. Like that's how I remember my 20s, right? That those like hallmark birthdays where you're supposed to like turn up and go crazy. Like, no, I was studying for like finals, right? I was studying for exams. Like, that's how I remember that. And I'm a December birthday. Shout out to the Sagittarius listening in the Lunch Learn community. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm in December. So my birthdays was always around final times anyway, right? There was no, let's get hype because it's your birthday. Like, no. I got to test on Monday. Like, I can't even do that. Like, I gotta study. I'm sorry. Like, I'll catch y'all the next week once the semester officially ends. But I got some work to do. And I think, and again, even though I talk about physicians, this is something, especially now as I get into the realm of my side hustle, and it puts me in the world of the content creator and the entrepreneur. And I'm seeing all of these entrepreneurs, friends of mine, and they're doing amazing work, great work, but I can see that a lot of times they're falling for these same issues, right? Where they're being overworked, they're overstressed, they're not taking care of family, and sometimes again they're putting out so much content you can't even enjoy the last content, right? Like I'm seeing so much of that across the board with my entrepreneurs that sometimes I just I want to reach out to them and say, hey, just take a break for a little bit, right? It's okay. Because when I took the break, right, it's not, if you notice, I didn't like announce it, right? I didn't say, hey, I'm taking a break for a week, y'all. I'm see y'all next week. I just did it, right? And that's from an entrepreneur standpoint, from a businessman standpoint, from a physician standpoint, you should feel comfortable just doing it, right? Like you should feel comfortable just being able to take that break and enjoy yourself and not feel like any obligation that you can't take your break, right? I think that's where the sadness comes in. I think that's where the discontent comes in. I think that's where people start hating their job, and people I think that's where that comes in, right? When they start feeling like, I don't even like doing this no more, right? Like I feel like I'm doing it just because I have to. I'm not doing it because I want to. I'm feeling like I have to record, I have to shoot a video, I have to write a blog post, and that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I love doing it. And that's when the work becomes, a little piss poor. That's when, you get it few and far between, and to the point where they just stop doing it, right? Because I follow a lot of blogs that, especially when I started blogging when I was in medical school, right? I followed a lot of blogs that they don't blog no more. I follow a lot of podcasts that they don't podcast no more. I follow a lot of people who do YouTube shows and live streams, and they don't do that no more because they hit those bumps in the road, those mental bumps in the road, I should say, right? Those mental anguishes that says, you know what? You don't even need to be doing this, right? They hear those excuses. Those excuses get louder and louder. Those obstacles get higher and higher. And then they say, I'm not going to do it. And then I'm not going to do it for 1 week, or I'm not going to do it for 1 day. and I'm not going to do it for 2 weeks. And then it turns into a month. And the next thing you know, they just stop doing it. And again, first of all, I don't want to let y'all know that's not, y'all don't have to worry about it over here. Like, Dr. Barry's fine. Dr. Barry's going to be bringing y'all regular scheduled program like always. But it is something that I want to implore to my entrepreneurs, my physicians, my businessmen, even if you don't, right? Even my parents, right? Like I want the parents of the lunch and learn community, right? Please remember that a mental break is important for everyone, especially you, right? And I'm talking to you right now, right? Whoever you is, that's who I'm talking to. Like, take that break. Be okay with taking that break. Come back refreshed. Come back recharged and ready to kill it all over again, right? Don't feel like you have to give us something just because you've been giving it to us, and then your quality suffers, right? We don't want that. Like we want your quality at its best, and as long as you're consistent with it, as long as you're consistent with the quality, we don't care if it takes an extra week, an extra 2 weeks to get it, right? As long as you do that, we're gonna love it all the same. So I just wanted to kind of like drop that episode because I felt it was pertinent, not only for my physician friends, but the Lunch and Learn community, my entrepreneurs, and everyone who kind of listens to the podcast and, gets their empowerment on to remember that, again, to empower yourself, right? It starts with the mental as well, too, and understanding when you need to take a break, right? So, again, I took a week. I'm back. I'm feeling good. Hope to see you guys next week for another amazing episode of the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. Thank you for getting to the end of the show. I am your host, Dr. Barry Pierre, host of the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, and this is another amazing episode that we like to bring to you week after week on betterment of empowering yourself for better health today. If you have not had a chance, please go ahead and subscribe to the show if this is your first time listening. If you already listen and you've already subscribed, make sure to leave me a 5-star review because your support is absolutely important in keeping the show moving as it is. And if you have not had a chance and you want to check out today's show notes, always head over to lunchlearnpod.com. That is lunchlearnpod, all in one word, .com, and you can get the access to my show notes for every single episode, but especially the one you just listened to. And I'm going to see you guys next week. You guys be blessed. Bye.